do it. It's real weird watching myself watch myself. Hey, what's up, Kaylin? How's it going? Faithful, you were on time last week too, like right at 7. I'm impressed. Matt Foreman's in the house, everybody. We're gonna chill. It always takes people a few minutes to get here. If people are gonna come, nobody knows what time it is or pays attention or whatever. I had a few people tell me today that this was like a weird time for them to join and interact with us. So we'll see, we'll give it a few minutes. I'm glad you guys are with us. Ashley, it's good seeing you, Matt. How's your day going? What are you guys all up to right now? Does everybody eat dinner before this point? Or is this like a time where you would be eating dinner? I have a small group that's at 7 and half the time guys are like, oh, like I'm eating or I'm just with my family right now. I don't know what you guys' schedules are like. Do you have schedules? What is life? I don't know. Man, I'm glad you're doing well. Like I said, we're gonna give it a couple minutes, everybody, but welcome. I know a lot of you guys are gonna watch this video later, and that's great, but I love whoever is on here in real time because I get to like interact with you and say hi to you, and I enjoy it. So watch the video later though, obviously. Kaylin, I feel like that's a normal time. What's up, Danny, Alicia, Claire joining us, welcome. Carissa, it's good seeing you guys. This is like the closest that I get to feeling like, oh, I'm like interacting with people socially, and it's just saying hi to people through a video camera, but I like it. I'm glad that you're here, and like I said, we'll give it a couple minutes. McKenna, what's up? But let people finish doing whatever they're doing at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night while staying at home in quarantine. I don't know what that looks like for you guys. I'm not good at like knowing what time it is throughout the day, so I don't blame you. A lot of you guys said like I don't pay attention, I don't know when stuff starts, and I get it. It really does make sense. I miss regular group too, Kaylin. I miss being together. I'm in our youth auditorium right now, obviously, and it makes me think like, man, I miss the days where we could all be in here, worshiping together, like hanging out, playing in the game room or in the gym, sitting out by the fire pit. But now I'm in here pretty much by myself. I have a few media team people with me. Shout out, Bryce Stacy helped me out. But for the most part, it's like there's no one here. All you guys obviously are at home. Trista, what's up? Danny. So we'll give it like one more minute, guys, before we get into everything. I'm excited to share with you guys tonight. I really am. It's something I hope the Lord uses. I hope it's a word that if you don't feel like it's timely for you right now, that you later on, when you hit a point where it is timely, you reflect back on, oh, like, that was good. I'm glad that the Lord spoke that to me. Yeah, I feel you, Kaylin. I think we all feel you. Danny, it is nice not to have setup. I'm sure Danny is like our setup MVP. And then all our setup team, you guys are all stars. But I'm sure it's nice not to have to deal with that. Katie, I see you joined. Good job. You know I was going to give you a hard time if you didn't. So, you know, that pastoral guilt, it really works. Lauren, what's up? What's up, Faith? All right. Guys, I am glad you guys are on here. Some more people I'm sure are going to join. What's up, Allison? Brooke, good job. Another one of those people that I guilted into joining us tonight. I was asking some students earlier about joining at this time because every one of your schedules seems to be like way different. Some of you guys tell me, man, I'm so much more busy now with schoolwork and different things going on. And some of you guys are like, I have all the time in the world. I don't do anything. And so I was asking some students like, okay, cool. You know, when we have stuff streaming or like, you know, messages live, how are you enjoying that? Like, I'm always trying to get feedback. Some of you guys know, you've gotten caught in those conversations with me where I'm like, hey, so what do you think about this? Or why don't you come to this? And so I was trying to get some like feedback, like, man, I want to do youth ministry better. I want to get some good like understanding of what students are going through. So I asked some students, are you going to join at 7? And someone was like, no, 7's hard for me. So automatically, like, my youth pastor mind is like, man, maybe 7 is hard for a lot of students. Maybe we need to change our time, and how can I connect with students well? And I'm like, why is 7 hard? Like, I want to fix this. And they're like, well, I'm home and I don't really want to make the time. And I was like, okay, that's why 7s are cool. So shout out to you guys who are honest with me when I ask questions like that. I really do appreciate it. But I agree, like, it is a weird and hard thing. And in that moment though, it felt like, cool, like, I'm trying to be real proactive and get some like helpful info, and it failed and it didn't work well in my favor. Trista, I love you too, we miss you. I hope things are going well up in Temecula, Marietta, wherever you are, somewhere north. Those are the same things to us. Actually, I want to talk about failure today. Not my own failures like earlier, but just failure in general. I think we as like a culture, we love failure. You guys love failure. I spent way too much time on YouTube today realizing there are tons and tons of accounts and channels that are solely dedicated to failure, to watching people fail. Like, we go and click on videos and are like, this is hilarious. Look at this person like making a terrible mistake, ruining their house or their life, or like breaking their face. And it's hilarious when someone else fails. When we fail, generally it's not that funny. Normally our failures are like embarrassing, sometimes shameful, something we just want to forget. If you're one of those people that's had a failure like caught on video, like, that's a bummer for you, because when people laugh at your failure and pain, like, it's not great. But we love to laugh at other people's failure and pain. Like, that'll entertain us all day, like it did me for a couple hours earlier today. What's up, Liz? So this idea of failure, though, is an interesting one, because we don't always deal well with failure. And when I say failure, I want to talk about one specific thing in this time while I have you guys with me. And that's our failures. Our failures in the eyes of God. Because as Christians, a lot of us, we've made a commitment to follow God. You've decided, Lord, I want you to be the Lord of my life. I want to live and do things your way. But sometimes I fall short of that. Sometimes I don't do that well. I want to discuss that, but real quick, before I continue with anything else, I have to give a shout out to a special small group. We did a small group Zoom photo contest. A lot of you guys participated, and you guys sent us photos, a screenshot of your small group Zoom meeting. And so we were like, we want to see these videos, send us what you guys got. So we announced the winning one on our Instagram. What's up, Jake? This was our winning photo, which was like blew all of the judges away, because this whole small group dressed up like legit old ladies. They went the extra mile, changed their name to a bunch of old lady names. I don't want to read them because I don't want to embarrass anyone if that's your name. But the whole like look, the whole vibe was like crazy. So they all got $15 Uber Eats gift cards. I know at least one of them already cashed it in. Juliana, shout out to you. Faith, props. Honestly, it was genius. I thought my small groups was like pretty good, but then I saw this and was like, dang, like that's like next level. So well done. That was not a failure. That was a like crazy success. But back to discussing failure. I want to talk about the way that we respond when we fail. Again, we have these ideas, man, God, I want to follow you. I'm going to pursue you. I'm going to live my life for you. And sometimes we fall short of this standard that we set, that we expect we're going to hold to. We know God's standards, and maybe we do or say things that are below those standards, and we experience this failure, I messed up. Like, I did not do the right thing. I know I did the wrong thing. Ray, what's up? Jesse, you joined us. I'm excited. It's miraculous. But we hit this wall of like, okay, what do I do now that I've messed up? And I want to look at two people in the Bible who ran into some epic failures. We know their failures are on full display. They're in the Word of God, and all of the world has read about their failures for thousands of years now at this point. I want to talk about two dudes. I want to talk about Judas, and I want to talk about Peter. Now, these are two examples that we often look at when we talk about failure. Like, that's not super new or surprising. But what happens is a lot of times when we talk about them, we look at these guys as this like really drastic, extreme example of failure. Like, that's a different kind of failure. But we see in the way that they responded, these two options for us in our failures. Even if we feel like my failure is different than theirs, we come across the same options when we experience failure. Rachel, it's good seeing you. Jesse, again, shout out to you. Jake, I'm glad to have all you guys here with us. It's almost like we're in a room together, but not really. And so, again, looking at Judas and Peter, how did they respond to their failures? I want to look at what do we know about them. So what do we know about Peter? We know that Peter was one of Jesus' 12 among many other disciples. So he was like in the inner circle. And in those 12, he was in the inner circle. Peter, James, and John were like Jesus' like extra tight friends that he hung out with. They got to go some other places other disciples didn't. They spent more time with Jesus. So he was in the inner circle. When Jesus went up on the mountain, was transfigured, like this insane, like glory of God washed over him. Elijah and Moses are hanging out with him. Peter was there for that. He was one of the few people that got to see it. We know that he watched some special miracles that some other disciples and other people didn't get to see. We also know that Peter thought that he was the most faithful of all the disciples. So in Matthew 26, verse 33, it's right here, Peter tells Jesus, even though all may fall away because of you, I will never fall away. He's like, Jesus. And this is, by the way, he's with the other disciples when he says this. They're all there, and he says it in front of them. He's like, that guy might, that guy might, that guy might fall away. He's like, but I will not. And he says, even if I have to die with you, I will not deny you. And Jesus tells him, he's like, hey, just so you know, tonight, you're going to deny me 3 times before the rooster crows. And Peter corrects him. Peter corrects Jesus and is like, no, Jesus, you don't get it. Even if I have to die, I'm not going to do that. Like these other guys, I don't know about them, but I will not. So we see this idea. He thought he was the most faithful. We know that Peter's one of the early people in the New Testament we see who said out loud, told Jesus, like, I know you're the Messiah. And Jesus actually tells him, like, you are blessed, Peter, because flesh and blood didn't reveal this to you, but God revealed this to you. Which I think, made Peter feel a little bit special. Hey, Allison, it's good seeing you. And so Peter, although for all of those things, we know that he wasn't perfect. Because we have a good amount of examples of Jesus correcting him, rebuking him. And so that's Peter. And now I want to look at Judas and look at what do we know about Judas. Judas, one of the 12. We have like this stigmatized idea about Judas where we just kind of write him off. But Judas was doing ministry with Jesus, living with the disciples for like 3 years. So he was one of the dudes. Judas didn't start off like this super shady guy. He was there. He was doing miracles with the disciples. Jesus sent them out and they were casting out demons and healing people. So he was doing the work of God. He was in that inner circle. He saw and heard things that other people didn't. He participated in ministry. He was used by God. We also know, though, Judas's failure that he had, it wasn't just a one-time thing. We know his big failure. We'll get to that. But Judas had some compromise dealing with greed leading up to his epic failure that was this unaddressed pattern of sin. He handled their money and stole money from Jesus and the disciples through some parts of their ministry. So I want to look at these two guys, both great potential, both in a place initially where they're like, Jesus, we love you, we want to follow you, like our life is about you, but then they failed. They failed epically. And I want to look at how do these guys respond to failure, and how should you and I respond to our own failures. There's some important things that we can learn from this. So here we have a picture. This is Peter. So we know Judas betrays Jesus. Jesus gets arrested, carried off, and we see in the background here, I know you guys can't see it, and that's okay if you're far away. This picture of Jesus back here getting carried off. He's arrested. And the Bible says that Peter, he was sitting by the charcoal fire warming himself. He wanted to be around what's going on. And he knew Jesus was, this crazy stuff is going down. So he was around warming himself. And it says he was sitting outside the courtyard, and a servant girl came to him and said, "You were with Jesus, the Galilean." And he denied it before all of them, saying, "I don't know what you're talking about." And when he had gone out to the gateway, another servant girl saw him and said to those who were there, "The man was with Jesus of Nazareth." And again, he denied it with an oath, "I do not know this man." A little later, the bystanders came up to Peter and they said, "Surely you too are one of them. Even the way you talk gives you away." And he began to curse and swear, and he said, "I don't know him." Immediately a rooster crowed, and Peter remembered the word that Jesus had said, "Before a rooster crows, you're going to deny me 3 times. Hey, Heather, Sophia. It says, this is the moment. He, in his third denial, we see there's even a rooster here. The rooster crows, and it hits him. Oh yeah, Jesus tried to warn me that I was going to fail in this moment. And in my pride and my arrogance, I was like, no, there's no way, Jesus, not me, maybe the other guys. And it hits him. And it says that he went out and he wept bitterly. I don't know how many of you guys have wept bitterly. That sounds like some really ugly, deep crying, sobbing kind of weeping. And so he experiences this moment of epic failure, and it hits him. He knows, I messed up. Judas, we know his failure. He betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. In the garden, he kissed Jesus on the cheek. When I was looking for pictures, I looked for a picture of this moment of Judas betraying Jesus. They're all really creepy. All of them are Judas looks super haggard, in his mouth, kissing Jesus. I was I'm not using any of these pictures. So we have this moment, Judas betrays Jesus, but he made a deal. In Matthew 27, verse 1 through 4, I want to look at what happens next with Judas. This is the most normal picture that I can find of Judas. There's a demon thing over here, kind of latched onto him as he's making this deal here. And it says, the morning came, and the chief priests and the elders of the people conferred together against Jesus to put him to death. And they bound him and led him away and delivered him to Pilate the governor. Then when Judas, who had betrayed him, saw that he had been condemned, he saw what was happening to Jesus, he felt remorse, and he returned the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned by betraying innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? See to that yourself. So I want to say hi to Megan, say hi to Alex, and get back into this. So Judas, give me 30 pieces of silver, I'm going to betray Jesus, does it, and then hits this moment. Says that he felt remorse. He tried to return the silver and is nope, I don't want to do it anymore. I messed up. And they said, we don't care. You deal with that yourself. It's already done. And so these two guys, both Peter and Judas, they messed up. They failed Jesus. They did something that I think both of them thought they'd probably never do. They messed up in a way that I'm sure they never imagined that they would. And it hits them. We know that Peter says he went out and he wept bitterly. We know Judas, it says he felt remorse, enough so that he went to return that money. They both messed up. They both felt remorse. But one continued to walk with Jesus after this, and the other one did not. And it was because they reached this moment of failure. God, I messed up. God, I've offended you. God, I have let you down. I let myself down. And the way they responded to that dictated what their future was going to look like. Maybe our failure doesn't look like Judas, but we have felt, God, I have messed up. I maybe messed up too bad. to come back. I did something that I swore I would never do, or maybe never do again. I went back to that person or to that thing. And maybe we wouldn't say it out loud, but if some of us are honest, we would say that we felt like, I don't know if Jesus is going to take me back. I think Judas, in this moment, when it says he felt remorse, he tried to return the money, and they're like, nope, it's too late. And I'm sure he went through his head, would Jesus be cool with me again? Would he take me back? Could I go back to the disciples were his brothers? He spent years with them. They were tight. He wasn't just like a rando hanging out with them for 3 years. They were brothers. And I'm sure he wondered, could I go back? Could I tell him what I did? And we see their response. I think a lot of us, like Judas, we're too embarrassed, we're too guilty, we're too ashamed when we fail. We feel like I can't go back. I can't approach Jesus again. How can I look the other believers in the face knowing what I've done? And so we know in verse 5, right after Judas tries to return the money and they're like, nope, we're not doing it, like that's on you. It says that he went away and he hanged himself. Judas, in this process of, I messed up, I experienced remorse, he had this decision of what is he going to do with it? And he decided, I can't do it. I can't go back. I've messed up too bad. I can never again experience fellowship with God or his people. All I can do is run. All I can do is just end it because I feel like I don't have any other options. I don't have any other hope. And so we know he went and he hung himself. And I want to contrast that with Peter's response. So Jesus gets crucified. Peter, we know, denied him. And then after that point, the disciples are back together. And we see in this moment at the end of the book of John, Peter is out fishing with some of the disciples. And I want to say something cool about that, actually. I have this interesting picture here, a man half naked, I'll explain it in a second, with a couple other dudes on a boat looking this direction. So, half naked dude, Peter, with the other disciples fishing. And when they're fishing, someone yells out from the shore, hey, throw your nets on the other side. They've been fishing all night, not caught anything. And they decide, all right, like, we'll do it. And all of a sudden, there's this insane haul of fish. And this moment that this is capturing, it says in John 21, verse 7 through 8, it says, the disciple whom Jesus loved, this is John. What's up, Kayla? It says, the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, oh, that guy on the shore? That's Jesus. And it says, so when Simon Peter heard that it was Jesus, he put his outer garment on, he was stripped for work, and he threw himself into the sea. So he's like, oh, let me put more clothes on. I don't understand that. Let me put more clothes on, because he was half naked working, to jump in the water so he could swim to Jesus and maybe get there a couple minutes before the other disciples. He couldn't wait. He couldn't wait to approach Jesus. And a couple cool things that we see about Peter's response to his failure, because he failed epically. In front of all the disciples, he told them, he said to Jesus, these guys might betray you, they might fail you, they might run, but I won't. If I have to die, I won't deny you. He failed. Right after this moment, he's facing the same thing that Judas is. Can I approach Jesus again? Can I be with God's people? What am I going to say when I tell them what I've done? What am I going to say when I have to say Jesus was right and I was prideful and stubborn and foolish? And I'm imagining all those things went through his mind, but we see right after that decision, he was back in fellowship with the disciples. And a mistake a lot of us make when we fail, and we feel like, I messed up, I've blown it. Like, I can't be around God, I can't be around his people, it's gone too far. And so we isolate ourselves. And we feel like, oh, I'm not good enough. And what we do is we get ourselves in this downward spiral, running away from God, running away from his people, part of which he wants to use to restore us, to bless us, to help us. And a lot of us just are like, nope, I guess not. But we see Peter, the way that he dealt with his failure, he was back in fellowship with God's people. He didn't let it keep him from where he knew he should have been. We also see when he has this opportunity, we don't know before this if he got to have a personal, like one-on-one, face-to-face with Jesus up until this point. But we know he has this opportunity. Jesus is on the shore. Jesus, who he denied 3 times. And he knew that Jesus knew it. And just like you and I, there's this moment of, can I face him again? Can I go back there? Can I look God in the eye? Can I show up again in front of him? Or does that make me a liar or a fake or a hypocrite? Am I worthy to approach God again? Or should I stay away? And a lot of us do. A lot of times we feel guilty or ashamed. We feel like, I'm not good enough to worship. I'm not good enough to get prayer. God doesn't want to speak to me or meet me because I've just messed up too bad. He knows the stuff I've done, and he doesn't want anything to do with me. And we let those lies keep us from the kind of response that God desires, which we see in Peter. He jumped out of the boat, swam to meet Jesus just a couple minutes before the other disciples so that he could see him, I'm sure, embrace him. The very first opportunity we have after we fail to embrace Jesus, take it. God is available and ready and willing to meet us despite what we've done. And all that matters is that we are willing to come back to him. Don't let your failure keep you from running to Jesus. I want to look at a couple other important things that go on. So, right after this, we see Jesus, the disciples come in and they see something really unique. It says, Jesus was sitting, he had prepared a charcoal fire. There's 2 times that word is used in the New Testament. And it's really weird because it's very specific. It actually doesn't even necessarily need to be in there, but it's oddly specific. So one time we see that charcoal fire word is when Peter strolls up and Jesus is sitting there on the beach. The other time was before, when Jesus was being arrested. It says that Peter was warming himself by a charcoal fire when he denied Jesus 3 times. So he comes up and he finds himself in this same situation that he was in when he denied Jesus. And Jesus asks him 3 questions, 3 identical questions, and addresses Peter's failure in a way that I'm sure Peter understood. In John 21, 15 through 17, it says, when they finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? And it's also interesting that he asked him that because remember before, Peter was like, Jesus, everyone else might betray you, but I won't. So he asked him, do you love me more than these? And he said to him, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. I think he knows enough not to talk about anyone else but himself. He says, yes, Lord, you know I love you. And he said to him, tend my lambs. And he asked him again a second time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And he said to him, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. And he said to him, shepherd my sheep. And he said to him a third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? It says Peter was grieved because he said to him the third time, do you love me? And I think it hit Peter. I denied Jesus 3 times. And I have this opportunity. I'm in the same situation. There's this oddly specific charcoal fire right here that I'm in front of. And Jesus is giving me an opportunity now to make right what I did wrong. And he does. He responds. He says, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. And Jesus said to him, tend my sheep. And so in this moment, Jesus wasn't like, Peter, how dare you? What are you doing? What were you thinking? Jesus wasn't like, I'm going to make you, walk over broken glass and, serve me in this way before you can get right with me again. He was there. He was back in fellowship with Jesus. But Jesus did give him the opportunity to make right what he had done wrong the first time. And for us, after we fail, we can run to Jesus. And we can and should expect to the Bible uses the word repent, to get right with God, to acknowledge, God, I messed up. I failed. I fell short in that area. Forgive me. And then to move forward with God, something really cool that happens in this moment. Jesus commissions Peter. He's not like, Peter, you blew it. Peter, you can't follow me anymore. I can't use you anymore. You had your chance, like it's gone. He says, all right. He says, basically, okay, then get to work. There's work for you to do. There's ways that I want to use you and work through you. He repented and was restored, and he would continue walking in the calling that God had for him. For you and I, when we face failure, we have these two opportunities, just like Peter did and just like Judas did, to feel like, God, okay, I guess I'm not worthy. I guess you can't forgive me. I just need to run away from you. I need to go off and do my own thing. I don't deserve to go to church. I don't deserve to be a small group or meet with my mentor. I just need to go at it alone and suffer the consequences. Some of us believe that lie. Peter recognized the truth. And I think it's really interesting. I don't have the verse up here, but Peter was the one who asked Jesus earlier. He said, Jesus, how many times should I forgive my brother when he wrongs me? Like 7 times? And Jesus says 70 times 7. Jesus had told Peter, there's no limit to the amount of times that you extend forgiveness. And I think Peter took that to heart in this moment when he rushed to Jesus. I think he remembered, oh my God, there's no end to his forgiveness, to his mercy or his grace. And so I don't have to be scared of approaching him. I don't have to hold back. I don't have to feel like, oh, I'm not good enough to come near him, or I need to get my stuff together before I approach him again. He approached him. He acknowledged his failures and made them right, and then continued on what God had called him to. Last verse I want to read, and I hope it's an encouragement to you guys. Whether you are experiencing failure right now, maybe you feel embarrassed or guilty or ashamed of some failure in your life. And if not, in the future, because we are sinful creatures. We have a sin nature that is going to inevitably cause us to fail in different instances. Now, we're continually growing, and there's areas that we might fail in today that we can have victory in tomorrow. But when we do inevitably experience failure, we have this opportunity to respond to God in a way that honors him, or in a way that shows, as Judas did, a lack of faith in God's grace or mercy that causes us to run away. What's up, Jacob? Hebrews 4:14-16, this last verse. It says, therefore, since we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold fast our confession. We don't have a high priest who can't sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who's been tempted in all things as we are, yet without sin. And therefore, the conclusion of that, because Jesus has experienced all the temptations we experience, and because he overcame them, it says this, therefore, let us, you, me, draw near with confidence to the throne of grace, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Now, what happens is when we're in a time of need, I've messed up. I need God's mercy. I need God's grace. Like, I don't know what's going on. At that moment, we run from God's throne. We're like, I don't deserve to be anywhere near it. I need to get far away. But in that moment, it says, well, our response should be drawing near with confidence to the throne of grace. Because I need God's help. I need God's mercy and grace in my time of need. And so it's not with confidence like, oh, I'm so good, I'm so great, or, oh, my sin doesn't matter. But because of who God is, I can boldly approach after my greatest or worst failures. As a matter of fact, I am sitting here today because I have experienced great failure. I remember after I committed my life to Jesus my senior year of high school, I was faithfully walking with the Lord. I got really involved here at the mission. I was changing my life around. I stumbled in some sin that had held me in bondage before giving my life to Jesus, sin I never thought I'd go back to. And I remember sitting in a church service debating, should I leave? Should I just stop? Like, I felt like I was faking. I felt like, should I stop going to church? Should I stop trying? Do I even deserve to be in the presence of God? This was during a time of worship, And so we're singing these songs. I felt like, God, I can't sing to you. I don't deserve to sing to you. I don't deserve to be in this room. I don't deserve to know you. I don't deserve to call myself your follower, because I knew I had failed. And in that moment, I experienced, like that verse in Hebrews talked about, this grace of God. This grace of God to help me in my time of need, where I experienced God's love and God's kindness and an invitation from him to get up and keep walking with him. And if I had not taken that invitation, I would have left that service and never come back. And I'm so, so grateful that in that moment of failure, I looked to him and I trusted him. I trusted his word more than my feelings or what I thought. And for you, when we hit our moments of failure that are going to be inevitable, how we respond to them is going to dictate, am I going to keep walking with and loving and pursuing and being used by God in my life, or am I going to run and isolate myself and run away from him, feeling like I can't trust his word and I don't deserve to be near him? And so I want to encourage you guys to pray and think about that. If you're in one of those times of failure, to invite God, God, show me the truth. Help me to not believe the lies trying to pull me away from you, and to walk in the love and grace of God. JSAF, way to join us for the last 30 seconds. If you guys joined late, I want to encourage you guys to go back and watch this video. It'll be on Instagram Live for 24 hours. It's also going to be posted on our YouTube. But I want to encourage you guys to look at Peter and Judas and the way that they address their own failures as a model, an example for us of how we can approach and pursue God despite our failures, and to move forward and grow in seeking and loving the Lord. God bless you guys. I'm praying for you guys. And as always, if you guys need prayer for anything, keep in touch with us, message us, let us know what's going on. For those of you guys who let us know you guys want letters, we are going to be writing and sending you guys letters, and that'll be going out by early next week. We're stoked to be in touch with you guys. Love you. God bless you.
Do I share it to Instagram TV?
Yes.
What was the title again? Dealing with failure?
Yes.
Did you get clear?
Oh, it's so distracting. Oh,
there goes that. Wait a minute. Wait, they're going. They're dying. Oh, there they go.
They're going. They're out of here.
Charlie's gonna be on for a while.
Probably isn't.
Go we try it.
Huh?
Go we try it.
No. Charlie's gonna go bad that for
Charlie can't help it.
Thank you guys. I know that was a lot more than normal.
Great.
Did you really just say you can't help it?
Yeah. Vice is not true.
You're one to talk.
Stefan.
I speak from lived experience. And he done things.
Stefan.
Yeah.
Can you help me grab this?
Yeah.
Bryce, can you help us out real quick?
Yeah.
Steph and I are gonna lift this. Can you just make sure it doesn't tilt over?
At the end of that video, my foot was cramping so bad. Oh.
Thank you. Don't bump your head.